Hello and welcome to Eskimos, your premier destination for thought-provoking content. Today we're tackling an unexpected topic: why listening to successful people is usually pointless. Yes, you heard it right. Now before you grab your pitchforks and storm the nearest self-help conference, let's be clear. This isn't about dismissing the achievements of others. It's about approaching the advice of the ultra-successful with a healthy dose of skepticism and a dash of lemon juice. Because, let's face it, sometimes their advice is a bit like a fortune cookie. Vague, potentially misleading, and leaves you wanting a goddamn pudding. Let's dive in. Firstly, we need to address the elephant in the room, or perhaps more accurately, the elephant in the room full of Rolexes and casually tossed off stock tips. What is success? One might assume it's having a bank account that requires its own zip code, a fleet of cars you couldn't parallel park if your life depended on it, and enough vacation homes to make a travel agent weep with envy. But frankly, that's just a very efficient way to become the preferred prey of those peddling impossible dreams. It's like thinking the only way to enjoy a sandwich is to build yourself a fully operational Subway franchise. True success, my friends, is about forging your own unique path, not desperately trying to trace someone else's journey with your finger on a dusty map. It's about defining what truly matters to, whether that's climbing the corporate ladder, starting your own Etsy shop for artisanal ferret undergarments, or finally perfecting that sourdough starter that's been judging you from the back of your fridge. And that brings us to our next point, applicability. Now, many of those who've scaled the dizzying heights of success operate in very specific contexts or industries. When a billionaire tech CEO, who hasn't seen the inside of a supermarket since the invention of sliced bread, starts dispensing life advice, it often lands with the resounding thud of a dropped smartphone in a library. It's like taking financial advice from a toddler who just won the lottery by eating a particularly lucky crayon. Remember to always ask yourself, does this context actually align with mine? Because the only thing more useless than bad advice is bad advice delivered with the unwavering confidence of someone who's never had to eat ramen noodles for a week straight. Let's also address the uncomfortable truth that genuine, actionable insights rarely come free. Look, I'm not saying every nugget of wisdom needs to be attached to a hefty price tag, but true value is often monetized. And honestly, that investment in a book, a course, or even a particularly insightful therapy session could save you from years of expensive trial and error. Think of it this way. Would you trust a dentist who learned everything they know from watching YouTube videos and offering free cleanings in a back alley? Probably not. You'd want someone with credentials, experience, and crucially, a proper set of those tiny dental mirrors. The same principle applies to advice. Sometimes paying for expertise is just a shortcut to avoiding a much larger headache down the line. Now, we can't discuss the pursuit of success without acknowledging the ever-present elephant in the room: social media. In this brave new world, showcasing a carefully curated version of success is easier than ever. The problem is, distinguishing the real from the carefully staged and aggressively filtered can feel like navigating a minefield in a blindfold. It's like trying to find a nutritious meal at a food court that only serves deep-fried, sugar-coated air. When seeking advice, it's crucial to verify credentials, look beyond the polished surface, and remember that everyone's highlight reel is just that, a highlight reel. Behind every perfectly posed Instagram post is a whole lot of real life, complete with bad hair days, existential dread, and the occasional desperate scramble for the snooze button. Here's another thing to consider. Advice coming from figures light years ahead of you on the success spectrum may not always be helpful. It's like asking a Michelin star chef for cooking tips when you're still trying to figure out how to boil water without setting off the smoke alarm. Their skill set might be so advanced, their vocabulary so specialized, that their advice becomes utterly incomprehensible at this stage of your journey. Instead of aiming for the summit right away, try focusing on their foundational steps. What were they doing when they were starting out? What mistakes did they make that you can learn from? Remember, even the most impressive skyscrapers started with a single, well-placed brick. Except for maybe that one in Dubai. That one feels like it was built with magic and wishes, and probably a lot of very confused pigeons. Now, in this quest for success, it's all too easy to fall into the seductive trap of passive consumption. We binge-watch documentaries about self-made billionaires, devour self-help books like they're going out of style, and listen to podcasts while simultaneously brushing our teeth, walking the dog, and performing minor surgery on a grapefruit. But here's the thing. Watching other people succeed is not a substitute for actually doing the work yourself. It's like assuming that watching every single episode of the Great British Baking Show will magically transform you into Paul Hollywood. Spoiler alert, it won't. You'll just end up with a very specific set of opinions about soggy bottoms and a deep-seated craving for Battenberg cake. So put down the self-help manual, step away from the motivational TED Talk, and go out there and actually the thing. Because the only way to fail your way to success is to actually get out there and start failing. Chapter 7. Remember that oft-forgotten truth: context matters. Success often hinges on a delicate dance between timing, circumstance, and a healthy dose of dumb luck. It's like trying to explain the concept of viral to someone who's never used the internet. It's a chaotic, unpredictable beast, and sometimes being in the right place at the right time with the right meme is all it takes. So, while it's tempting to try and reverse engineer someone else's path to success, remember that what worked for them might not work for you. And that's okay, because your journey is yours to define, your mistakes are yours to learn from, and your successes will be all the sweeter for it. Chapter 8. The Romanticization of the Grind. It wasn't all blood, sweat, and tears, probably. Let's also acknowledge the very human tendency for successful people to, shall we say, romanticize their journey a tad. They'll tell you about their unwavering vision, their tireless work ethic, their unwavering belief in themselves. What they often conveniently forget to mention is the role of sheer dumb luck. The chance encounter, the lucky break, the time they accidentally tripped and landed on a pile of money and/or free therapy coupons. It's not that they're intentionally misleading you. It's just that hindsight has a funny way of smoothing out the rough edges, airbrushing the moments of doubt, and conveniently forgetting the times they cried into a bowl of cereal because their startup was one bad Yelp review away from imploding. So take their tales of triumph with a grain of salt, because the reality is usually a lot messier, a lot more chaotic, and a lot less glamorous than they make it seem. Chapter 9. Survivor Bias, Where Failure Goes to Die. And finally, let's address the elephant in the room that's been trampled by all the other elephants: survivor bias. Not every successful person makes a great teacher. In fact, some of the most successful people are terrible at explaining how they got there. They've forgotten more about their early struggles than you've ever experienced. Survivor bias skews our perception, making us believe in the inevitability of success stories while conveniently glossing over the countless failures that litter the roadside. It's like assuming everyone who buys a lottery ticket eventually wins the jackpot. Sure, it happens, but the odds are about as good as finding a unicorn riding a Roomba through your living room. So, when seeking advice, remember that you're often only hearing from those who survived the journey, not those who got lost along the way. Their advice might be valuable, but it's only one piece of a much larger, messier, and ultimately more interesting puzzle. Chapter 10. One-hit wonders and the myth of replicability. And here's a final thought to ponder. One-off successes are rarely a recipe for you to replicate. Real, lasting success often springs from a perfect storm of unique circumstances that are impossible to recreate. It's like trying to bottle lightning or teach a squirrel to play the ukulele. You might get lucky, but it's probably not going to end well for anyone involved. So instead of trying to copy someone else's blueprint, focus on building your own. Embrace your unique skills, experiences, and yes, even your failures. Because it's in those messy, unexpected moments that true innovation and originality are born. Remember, the world doesn't need another Steve Jobs or Oprah Winfrey. It needs you. Well, maybe not specifically. I mean, I don't know your life, but you get the idea. Be your own damn unicorn, riding your own damn Roomba, and leave the tired old success scripts where they belong, gathering dust on a shelf next to a half-eaten bag of motivational pretzels. So, whose advice should you consider? The answer lies in adopting a learner's mentality. Every person, every experience can teach you something. The barista who makes your coffee might have a unique perspective on customer service. The Uber driver might surprise you with insights on navigating life's detours. Ultimately, your pathway to success comes from diverse experiences and lessons, not monotonous repetition. On that note, we wrap up today's thought-pummeling session. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and create your own journey.